Hey, what's up everyone? My name is MELRAAH and you're watching the walkthrough to my song, Ready to Die, Save Me.
So save me from myself, from my mind. I am ready to die.
So let's start with the verse, which sounds like this.
I am happy rarely when it gets messy, so that no one dares to see. I've been carrying this weight all by myself. When I take a look around, ain't nobody here to help. Ain't nobody wanna know how I'm doing, less is fine. While these motherfucking demons eat away at me inside every night.
Cool, so let's just start from the top and work our way down. So I started with these chords, which sound like this. So nothing really too special, just a couple of serum presets, I believe from Echo Soundworks and one from Fabi Mazur's Elixir. So when I had these chords, I really wanted to give them a little bit of character. So I searched which felt like the entirety of Splice, and I ended up finding this textural pad. Which originally sounds like this. Really cool, gives it a lot of character in my opinion. And all I did was just slow it down, pitch it down, and together they sound like this. Then in the second half of the verse, I added this distorted string sound from Arturia's Analog Lab. It's tucked way in the back, but I felt like if I remove it, it sounds like you're missing something. It's also giving a little bit of variation because you don't really want the listener to wait until the end of the measure for something to change. You just want to keep them on their toes, keep the listener engaged at pretty much all times. After the chords, I added these trap drums. Again, nothing too crazy. I think the interesting part of this loop are these distorted pluck sounds. This is just a Cashmere reverb pluck. Without any processing, it sounds like this. I added a EQ, questionable EQ at that, to bring out some tonality. Then I distorted it, which gives it this like little crackle, which I like a lot, which comes from distorting the reverb, which I do a lot. Distorting the reverb just gives you this unexpected whatever. And yeah, I like it a lot. After which I added some more reverb just to smooth it all out. Then moving on to the Reese bass. Just a regular Reese bass. This is from my good friend Arcando's Splice Pack. And I mean, what can I say? He's goated. Splice Pack's goated, his presets goated, so definitely go check them out. And all I added was some processing just to beef it up a little bit, some filtering, some side chaining, nothing crazy, and then just your regular effects. Now let's move on to the pre-chorus and the build, which sound like this.
Night. So save me from myself, from my mind. I am ready to die.
Cool. Yeah, let's just start from the top again. In the first half of this section, I removed the chords from the verse and I added an ARP, which is from Virtual Riot's preset junkie pack, and it's called In Memoriam, and it sounds like this. Then I added another instance of that same ARP, but I half-timed it, which sounds like this. And I added a string drone, which I believe is the same Analog Lab sound as the one from the verse. Again, tucked way into the back, but removing it, you'll be missing something. Altogether, that sounds like this. And also the same synth pad from the verse, except this time not slowed down and pitched up, which sounds like this. Then just the same Reese bass and my vocal and some effects, of course. Then in the second half, I've added the chords from the verse to build up towards the drop. And I also introduced the build-up drums, which sound like this. A lot of clap layers, snare layers to drive towards the drop, give it a lot of excitement, make it sound big. And last but not least, I also introduced the drop synth, which sounds like this. So how I made this, we'll get into a little bit later. The tricky thing about this build-up was I made this drop as an unofficial remix of a Tamino song, but I ended up liking the drop so much that I decided to make an original out of it. So I kept the drop, but I built an entire new production around it. The thing was, I didn't really like the chords from the drop to be the chords in the verse. The feeling felt off. So I stayed in key, obviously. I just played some different chords. The thing is, because I'm introducing the drop chords over the chords from the verse, at some points they don't really match up that well. They actually clash a little bit because you got like, I think a G minor chord over an F chord. You got like a E diminished with like a B flat minor. I think. I don't know. I'm not Jacob Collier. But it ended up working. So let's move on to the drop. So let's start with the lead and the chords. So like I said, this started out as an unofficial remix of a Tamino song. I'm not sure if I can play, maybe I'll try to play it and see if I get copyright stricken. The lead on its own sounds like this. So I started out with just some chops from his song, and then I added some OTT just to compress it a bunch. Left it on 100%. Yeah, stupid. Who cares? Then I added a CLA guitar for some more compression. Endless Smile for some reverb. Yeah, quick disclaimer, this is by no means sound design tutorial, so if you think this doesn't make sense, you're right, it doesn't.
What the hell?
Like I said, it doesn't. Some questionable EQing going on here for some tonality. So now we're starting to sort of get into the direction I wanted to. It's just really quiet. To beef it up, I just distorted it a bunch. Some more sausage fattener. And then the big thing that did it for me with this sound was using Serum FX. I think when I made this song, I just figured out that you could use like the effects module from Serum as a standalone, just an effects module on like anything. And I also figured out that you could just go through your presets and it would show you the Serum FX module from that preset. Yeah, my mind was blown. So literally what I did, I just went through a bunch of presets, mainly like heavy trap presets to get like a crazy Serum effects chain. And I ended up settling with this Luki, I don't really know how to pronounce his name, from Octave. Yeah, that pretty much did it. And then some more saturator to give it some high end. Yeah, just to dirty it up a bunch. And then this Ableton Rec from Excellent Sound. I think it was a nasty break remake from them for some additional compression. Like it didn't have enough already. Yeah, and then obviously, as you can tell, an LFO tool. It's a really resonant, heavy sound. And as you can tell, my Soothe isn't working right now because I didn't buy it.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Yeah, I used a Pro Q3. Yeah, as you can tell, a lot of ducking of resonant, annoying frequencies to make it somewhat listenable. And then I layered this sound with a splice sample from Tynan, Bro Step Melodic Loop, which sounds like this. Which happened to fit perfectly. Together, they sound like this. And then I thickened it up with some additional super saw chords and bass layers. That's pretty much the lead and the chords. Now let's move on to the bass, which sounds like this. Which is pretty much just a sub. It is just a sine wave with some filtering, some distortion, layered with a bunch of bass layers. And these bass layers are really what give the bass its character. So as you can tell, it's just a bunch of different distorted sounds, all playing their own part within the bass, within the frequency spectrum. Now moving on to the drums. Nothing too crazy. I think what keeps it interesting are just like a lot of little accents, such as this glass breaking on the first snare and this distorted snare layer from Umru, together with the ring roll. And in the second half, the big thing is this Nolan Van Lit acoustic drum loop, which is really what gives the drum its space. It just adds a whole new dimension to the drums, in my opinion. And now if I play it without, it just makes it sound bigger. Yeah, it kind of gives it a little bit of a stadium feel. All I did was just cut out all the lows, boosted the highs a little bit, and then distorted that, because without, it sounds like this. And then I also added some one-shots. just to keep the drop interesting, fill some spaces here and there. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the drop. The second verse, pre-chorus, and the build are also pretty much the same. And then for the second drop, the most notable changes are the first part where I started without the drums. And in the second half where I added an ARP. And this is just a Tall Uno emulator, their Brass 1 preset, and a Serum preset. I think it's just from the standard Serum preset base. Braveheart lead made by Seven Skies. And that pretty much concludes this walkthrough. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've learned something. If you have any questions, leave it down in the comments and I'll do my best to answer all of them. All right, that really concludes this video and I'll see you in the next one.